بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق الخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. Alhamdulillah. So yesterday we've reached, for those who are following in the book, we reached page 34 of this book, page 34. And today we're going to look at a new section. So we're halfway through, kind of the midpoint of page 34. The subtitle of today's class is Ma'ani Taklif Illahi li'ibadihi. So yesterday we spoke about this, the importance of surrendering or submitting before the divine command, and submitting before the divine will and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And the idea that through that submission, we're able to attain happiness in this life, what they call Jannah qabla Jannah. We're able to attain a type of peace, a type of tranquility, a type of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a type of repose within the world. And you're able to do that through you're able to attain that through actually submitting to the divine way, inshallah ta'ala. So ask Allah for tawfiq to allow us to do that. And today's lesson is Mani Taklif Illahi li'ibadihi. It's looking at what is taklif. Taklif in Arabic means responsibility. Yes, so taklif means responsibility. In other words, what do we have to do? What is our responsibility as slaves to God? What is our responsibility? What do we need to do as people who are slaves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? As worshipful, submissive slaves to God. Why are we submissive slaves to God? Because we recognize that that's where goodness lies. That's the best option for us. And it's also out of a realization of gratitude, of recognizing the gifts Allah has bestowed and continues to bestow upon us at every moment. It's interesting when you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, the first command in the Quran. What's the first command in the Quran? Worship your Lord. Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum. And then it says, Alladhi khalaqakum walladhi min qablikum. And then it says, Alladhi ja'ala lakum al-arda firashan wa sama'a bina'an. And it goes like this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, worship your Lord. This is the command. Then he gives you reasons for why you should worship. Because he created you and those who came before you, in order that you be conscious of it. And then he talks about the heavens, how the heavens have been set up as a canopy. The earth has been spread out for you. And you have all these, you have all these fruits, etc., etc. So it builds this. And then it says, and don't associate partners or equals or counterparts with God when you know, and you don't do this consciously, knowing the truth, knowing that God is powerful, knowing that God is overseeing of everything. Despite this, for you to then associate partners and try to equate other people with God is unacceptable. Because why is it unacceptable? It goes against the intellect itself, and it goes against the nature of man, the primordial nature of man. The natural state that we're in, it goes against that. Because it doesn't take a lot to observe the universe and see the principle of oneness, as they call it. That there's one at the center of it. And then we have what they call this multiplicity, which is the universe. This is the essence, isn't it, of the Meccan message. What's the essence of the message of Mecca? It's oneness in multiplicity. If you want to summarize it, this is what the Prophet ﷺ came and he imprinted this, literally imprinted it upon the hearts of the Sahaba. Oneness in multiplicity. And from that oneness, they recognize unity. They recognize togetherness of the human race. They also recognize reliance. Where does power lie? Where does reliance come? Who do we rely upon? Where does victory come from? Where does success come from? They recognize all of these variant things through this oneness in multiplicity. Yeah, so this is what's being alluded to here when we're talking about the idea of taklif. Taklif is a responsibility that's been given to the slave, to the one who has surrendered to Allah. So this taklif, what does he say? He says, معنى taklif. What is taklif? He says, ابتلاء الله واختباره لك باختيار يؤتيك إياه. Yeah, that taklif is a test, it's a trial. Yeah, it's an examination of you because it's based upon a choice, a free will. You have been given a choice. You can decide. You have the free will to decide. So because you have, this is a huge tribulation. It's a huge tribulation because we have the ability to choose. If we make the wrong decision, like we've spoken about previously, that where is the decision-making faculty of man? How do we make decisions as human beings? Do we make them rationally or do we make them emotionally? And now they say 95% of our decision-making faculty is emotional. Yeah, they say it comes from the midbrain or the reptilian brain, like the core brain, rather than the neocortex, the new brain, which is where we think logically and rationally and intellectually. That the decision-making center of the human being is not that. It's actually emotions and the core brain. This is where we make decisions from. So therefore, it's a great tribulation to have to make these decisions. It's an examine. How are you gonna? What are you gonna do? Like it says in Surah Al-Mulk, "Alladhi khalaqa al-mawta wal-hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala." Yeah, that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala created death and life in order to test you, to try you, to see which one of you is the best. Which one of you is the best in action? So it's a trial, it's a test, it's an examination. Yeah, and any type of trial requires patience. It requires patience, it requires perseverance, consistency, steadfastness. That the choice you're making isn't the easy choice. It's not the easy choice. The choice to follow the way of goodness and the path of good is a difficult choice. That's why it talks about the aqaba. Who's going to take the steep road, the steep upward road towards Allah? What is that? Aqaba, freeing the slave, yeah, or looking after the orphan, yeah. All of these different dimensions of feeding the destitute, taking care of them. Yeah, this is the steep. So the path actually, when we're looking at taklif, this responsibility, it requires tremendous patience and perseverance and consistency, because you're going on an uphill slope towards something higher. And this is why they say when you go upwards, this is an important principle, even like in physics, but it applies certainly spiritually. When you go upwards, things slow down. And when you go downwards, things speed up. So that's why the devil, Shaitan, wants you to go this way, down. So his game, his trick or his ploy, his strategy is haste. That's why when you're worshiping, he wants you to do it hastily. Quick, pray quickly. Do it without itqan, without perfection, without ihsan, without excellence. And he wants you to do it quickly. So it's a downward spiral. Whereas those who are ascending upwards, is things slow down. This is why you find barakah in time, increase in time. You can do more in your time, the more spiritually elevated you become. And you also start to perceive your abilities and your potential becomes increased. You realize how much you can do. Yeah. And one of our teachers, he mentioned that spiritual refinement, how is it defined? How do we know we make a spiritual progress? He said it's when you start to detach yourself from your actions. In other words, your focus moves away from your actions to your intentions. So when you're acting, all you're thinking about is why am I doing your intent, your focus, I'm doing this for Allah. Yeah, and your focus is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That becomes your primary and your only concern, rather than the action itself. Yeah, so there's a shift away from the action to the intention. This is spiritual refinement. This requires patience. This is why they say, the ulama, they mention, Imam Ghazali brings in the Ihya, and many others bring it as well. They mention there's three types of patience. There's three types of patience. Number one, there's patience in doing good. Yeah, i.e. to be consistent, to persevere, to stay strong in doing good actions. Yeah, so there's perseverance in doing good actions. That's number one. Perseverance, You stay strong, consistent, firm in good actions, number one. Number two, there's patience in staying away from bad. Yeah, there's patience in staying away from evil actions, from actions that are going to damage the soul, that are only going to hurt yourself, and are only going to degrade your own nobility. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have ennobled Bani Adam. We've made them tremendous beings. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ وَهَدَيْنَاهُ نَجْدَيْنِ. Yeah, did we not give you these gifts of 2 eyes? Yeah, did we not give you the gifts of being able to speak? And then we showed you the 2 paths. Yeah, and we so alam najalu aini wa lisan, the tongue, wa shafatain, and these lips, mashallah, which allow articulation. They allow us to speak, and the ability to speak is the supreme achievement of the human being. Yeah, what they call doubling. Yeah, this is one thing that this is like the mystery of evolution or whatever. Like they say, how is it that we only have a certain number of sounds, and the sounds that we can make are limited? There's animals that can make more sounds than us. Yeah, there's animals that can make 100, 200, 300, 400, however, like a wide variety of sounds, but they don't have the ability to what they call double up. And the ability of what they call doubling is what allows us to articulate, allows us to be able to speak and to talk about, express difficult, abstract concepts, philosophical concepts. This is what allows us to do it, this ability, what they call doubling. Yeah, which is the essence of the human. So he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, did we not give you all of this? And then we showed you the 2 paths. And then it's upon you to take that path. Yeah, so we recognize that. So this patience, the second patience, which is the most important patience and the most difficult patience, is being able to stay away from evil. To stay away from that which harms you is actually far, far more difficult than being consistent on good actions. Far more difficult. It takes tremendous effort, tremendous difficulty, yeah, to overcome yourself and to stay away from things that are harmful to you. Yeah? And then the third type of patience is patience in tribulation. Patience when calamities strike you, when problems strike you, when things go wrong, whatever that might be, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's financial difficulties, whatever it might be, whether it's difficulties on a communal level, yeah, with like, for example, you know, within your household or outside of your household, with your parents, whatever it might be, when calamities hit. And so we're in a time now of calamity. If we don't understand calamity in this time, we never will. This is a time, obviously, of calamity. And that's why our approach has to be one that enables us to cope and to overcome these types of problems. So this is a third type of patience. Yeah, it's patience in ibtila. Yeah, and part of that, the patience in ibtila, patience in when we are trialed, is recognizing that tribulation is a blessing. Yeah, tribulation is a blessing. To be tried is actually the greatest of all blessings. Yeah, to be tried is a great blessing. So you must say, how is that? Well, look about the great Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, Mufassir al-Quran, the interpreter of the Quran. What does he say? He says, tribulation is a blessing for 3 reasons. Number 1, that it could have been worse. Yeah, it could have been worse. That's number 1. Whatever it is, it could have been worse. Yeah. Number 2, that it was a trial for you in this world and not the next world. Yeah. The trial occurred now in the dunya. It didn't occur in the akhirah. And therefore, whatever happens in this world is always less and more lightened than the same severity happening in the next world. And also, by it happening in this world, it relieves you. It makes it easier for you in the next world. Yeah. And then so that's it. And then the third reason why tribulation is a blessing is because it elevates, it raises you up, it spiritually elevates you. Yeah. And this spiritual elevation is what allows for people to attain success. You know, one of the secrets of how is it? Yeah, that sometimes this is something that, you know, speaking personally, sometimes it baffles. Like it can baffle you. How is it that people are able to attain tremendous spiritual ranks? Yeah, people able to attain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that isn't earned. Like, how can we earn? What can we do ourselves to get close to Allah? Like, what have we really got to offer? Yeah, acts of insincerity, or whatever, what have we really got to offer that's any worth or value that means that we become beloved to Allah, from His beloved, from those people who Allah loves, those people who are close to Allah. And what have we really got to offer in order to assure and ensure that we become beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We haven't. Let's be honest, we haven't got anything to offer. Yeah, and that's, mashallah, is a good position. Yeah, that we shouldn't delude ourselves into thinking, no, alhamdulillah, but Allah is generous. So sometimes the only way you're going to rise, the only way you're going to get beyond the ceiling that you've set yourself and go beyond, break through that ceiling and attain higher ranks and closeness to Allah is through tribulation. It's through deep trials that come upon the human being. Yeah, trials that can shatter and really move the soul, can even destroy, break the heart before it becomes mended again. Allah is the one who is with the brokenhearted. Yeah, He's with those who are broken for His sake. So when hearts break, mashallah, these are actually opens the futuhat. And this is like what our teachers mentioned. This is what they call a vista. A vista is an opportunity opens up. A chance opens up for you to get close. The question is, are you going to take that chance? It opens up, like a loved one dies and it hits you hard. Your child passes away. It hits you hard. Yeah? Something you're in a terrifying road accident shakes you up. Yeah, whatever it might be, a trial comes and it's severe. It might be like an emotional trial, whatever it is. Yeah, something deep happens and it shakes you up. And then there's an opening now. There's a chance for you to move to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's an opportunity for you to move to the Lord of the worlds. You can move to Him at that stage, or you're going to take that chance. Why? Because when that opportunity comes along, what's happened is you've entered into a higher state of awareness. You are now seeing realities, haqa'iq, realities as the world as you should see it. You are no longer veiled by the illusions of what's going on around you, by this world, the material realm, or any other, like temporary aspect. You suddenly thrust into reality, and now you have an opportunity. This is the beauty of ibtila, of trials and tribulations. That's why who are the people who are most tried? The prophets. The prophets are the people who are tried. They have more tests, more difficulties than anybody else of the prophets. Then those like them, then those like them. Yeah. So the greater your rank, the more tribulations you're going to face. And the greatest tribulation that we have is actually taklif. It's the ability that we have the ability to choose. That's a great responsibility. And it's a great trial and tribulation for us. That are we going to make the right choice? Yeah, are we going to make the right choice? And it's difficult because we have this thing within us that we've been talking about, the hawa, the caprice, the passion, the nafs, which tricks us. Because the nafs is interesting. It has two aspects. This is something that's often missed when you look at the soul. Yeah, you can see this is spiritual psychology. And the Muslims, mashallah, spiritual psychology is an area where they've certainly excelled in. Yeah. And Allah Ta'ala, from what we've studied beyond any other civilization, really. One of them, one of the people at Cambridge Muslim College was, I think, Dr. Atif, I think he's called, one of the people there who runs Cambridge Muslim College, is in charge of. He once organized a seminar on Imam al-Ghazali, Imam al-Ghazali's contribution to psychology and to human behavioral patterns. And he organized this conference, this seminar with many of the leading psychologists in the north of England. So he gathered together different people. It was like a two-day workshop, actually. It wasn't really a seminar. I think it was maybe like a 2 or 3 day workshop. At the end of this workshop, the people there, these were non-Muslims, psychologists, experts within their field, they said that Imam al-Ghazali said not only has Imam al-Ghazali spoken about everything we know about the human mind and human behavior, he's gone beyond. He's offering new insights and new ways that we haven't considered and we don't know about. That he's gone beyond what we know. And this is somebody who was around like 1,000 years ago. Yeah, so, and there's many, I mean, literally there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of books that have been written on spiritual psychology, on how the nafs works, how do our behavioral patterns, how do we operate as human beings, all these kind of topics. So if you look at the nafs itself, there's two aspects to the nafs. The ego, we can call it. One aspect is like the bestial nature, yeah, the animal nature of human being. When you're talking about food, you're talking about sleep, you're talking about relations with the opposite gender, these types of things. This is like the animal type instinct, yeah. But there's another aspect to the nafs, which is like caprice, our empty desire, which leads to us making bad decisions, our arrogance, yeah, our envy, all these types of things, our ability to delude ourselves. Yeah, like Daniel Goleman, who's one of the leading psychologists, right? He's got this book, Vital Lies, Simple Truths. Vital Lies, Simple Truths, The Psychology of Self-Delusion. I mean, a book like that, from what our teachers tell us, they say it's an obligation, it's wajib to read that book, because it allows you to understand the nature of kufr and what kufr actually is. What does it mean to reject Allah, knowing for certainty, sorry. Yeah, you know for certainty that He's true. You know for certainty that He created you, and yet you still reject Him. How? Yeah, so when you start to understand, you say, okay, this is how it happens, cognitive dissonance and all these kinds of things. All right, so he's talking about, so this is the great trial. And then he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tried, then he says, ثُمَّ يَطْلُبُ مِنْكَ أَن تُسَخِّرَ هَذَا الْإِخْتِيَارَ عَلَى مَنْهَجٍ يَرْضَاهُ تَعَالَى فِي عُلَاهُ. Yeah, that God then desires for, what does He want from you? You've got this free will. Yeah, you've been given the free will to choose. Yeah, you can choose right and you can choose wrong. You can choose that. So now that you have that ability to choose, what does God want from you? He wants you to choose that which is pleasing to Him. Yeah, that which is pleasing to Him. And that which will ultimately satisfy your own soul. It will satisfy your own soul, if only you knew. Yeah, it will satisfy your own soul. This is why they say that when somebody it gives up something for the sake of Allah, yeah, they give up something that, and you await that sweetness, don't you? You await that sweetness. And they say sometimes Allah doesn't give you that straight away because it's a test. Are you sincere? Are you going to be patient? And as time goes on, then the sweetness comes. You know, like many of us, I remember many years ago when I first started praying at Fajr at the mosque. And, you know, it was, initially, it's difficult. It's difficult. You do feel, I mean, once you open, you're okay, but it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. And there was no, you know, it was just hard. And after a while, mashallah, you start to experience the pleasure of being up at that time. It's the best time of the day. One of them, this convey, he said that that he became Muslim, mashallah, and he said like one of his thoughts as he went to sleep, like that night after mashallah, he just take the shahada was, I'm never gonna have a lion again. Because that's it now. Mashallah, that shows commitment. Yeah, that maybe many born Muslims like. How committed are we to that early morning and waking up, Fajr, waking up the Hajj, etc. So he said, I'm never going to have a lion again. This is the thought. But he said, what you realize as time goes on is that that morning time is actually the best time. It's the sweetest time. This is what Imam Shafi'i's famous statement that he said, if you want dunya, if you want success in the world, then get up in the morning. If you want akhirah, if you want success in the next world, get up early in the morning. There's barakah within that time. Yeah, they'll tell you now that if you just, if you just wake up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's already a barometer of success. Someone who can do that consistently is going to be successful in any type of field or sort of walk of life. Yeah. So he talks about, then he says, فَإِذَا أَعْطَاكَ أَمْرًا تَقْدُرُ فِي أَن تَفْعَلَ وَأَلَّا تَفْعَلْ وَجَاءَ إِلَيْكَ خِطَابٌ بِأَنْ افْعَلْ كَذَا وَلَا تَفْعَلْ كَذَا. Yeah, so he's saying that you're given like a command, and you're told to do something, like do this, don't do this. Yeah, a command or a prohibition, and you have the ability to choose what you want to do. فكان التكليف عبارة عن هذا الخطاب الموجه من الرب المبلغ على أيدي الرسل صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم هذا النوع من المخلوقات أن نفعل كذا ولا تفعل كذا. So he's saying that really taklif, responsibility, is referring to this divine address. Now, in other words, responsibility is taklif, is for you to choose between the divine commands. Yeah, do this, don't do that. Or you're going to follow those commands, or you're going to follow what God wants you to do, or you're not going to follow. That's what taklif is. That's what we are as human beings. We are simply beings who have been given a choice to follow or to not follow, to do something or to not do something. That's it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, this ability to follow is where the human being comes unstuck. That's why look at the final ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, which were revealed on the Isra wal Mi'raj, mashallah, which is, we're 2 days away from the 27th of Rajab. The Isra wal Mi'raj, when these are the only verses in the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ takes directly from Allah. He doesn't take it through the intermediary of the angel, he takes it directly from Allah. Lillahi ma fi samawati wa amana rasul, etc. And what does it say in there? وَقَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. They say, we hear and we obey. We hear and we obey. And the speed of our obedience determines success. It determines success in the next life. The speed of our obedience. Are we going to obey straight away or not? Yeah? Are we going to wait a year? Are we going to wait 2 years? Are we going to wait a few months, a few minutes? The speed of our obedience determines the speed with which we cross the bridge in the next life, the speed with which we enter paradise, the rank that we have within paradise. All of it depends on that. Yeah, we hear and we obey. And that's why the Sahaba, they would rejoice at verses like this, because they were in complete obedience. They obeyed out of love, and they obeyed immediately. Like one of them, they said, the Prophet ﷺ is doing a khutbah, and he's in the marketplace, and he hears the Prophet ﷺ's voice saying, be seated. And he just sits down right there. He's supposed to go to the mosque and sit down, but he just sits down because this is a command from the Rasul. Yeah, so they were people who just obeyed commands immediately. As soon as they heard it, they would obey. That is what we call people who are operating at a high level of, like a high level of religion, yeah, religious operation, or those who take and obey immediately. Yeah, so he talks about this, and then he says, فَإِنْ سَخَرَ الْإِنسَانَ اِخْتِيَارُ لِمَا رَضِيهُ رَبُّهُ وَلَمْ يَتَصَرَّفْ إِلَّا فِي مَا أَبَاحَهُ لَهُ خَالِقُهُ نَجَا فِي هَذَا الْإِخْتِبَارِ. So he says, the one who chooses that which God is pleased with, he chooses what God is pleased with, and he doesn't turn away from that, other than what is permissible. So in other words, he does that which God wants, or that which is permissible. MashaAllah, that's it. He doesn't go beyond that. So the one who does what Allah wants, or he does what is permissible, najaha fi hadha ikhtibar, he will succeed. Yeah, he will be successful in this test or this trial. Yeah. So because even then there's degrees. So this is again what we're talking about. Here we're talking about sanctification, salvation. The path of salvation is to stay in the permissible, to not do anything haram. This saves you from punishment. It saves you from hellfire. It saves you from all of these things, number one. Then number two, yeah, number two is the path of sanctification, of seeking a higher reality, spiritual purity. That path there is when all you do is just what God wants. You're just doing the best every single time. You're not even doing the permissible, you're only doing the best. Even your permissible is worship. Even when you eat, is to worship Allah. Even when you sleep, is to worship Allah, to get strength to worship Allah. Yeah, to give the rights of that your body has over you. Yeah, everything is just for Allah alone. This is the higher path, the path of the muqarrabun, those who are close to Allah, the path of sanctification, of safa, of internal purity. And that path requires dedication. And really, it can't be achieved until one turns inward, until one starts to look at their thoughts. This is the beginning of wilayah, the beginning of sainthood, the beginning of closeness to God, the beginning of becoming beloved to Allah. The beginning of it is when you start to take your thoughts to account. Yeah, what am I thinking? When you start to observe yourself on that level, this is when you're going to achieve this path of sanctification. Yeah, like there's people alive today and there's people alive from the past who they can prevent thoughts from coming to them. They can prevent them. Like Imam Ali famously said, I would see a thought would be coming to him, like almost from a distance, and he'd be like, that's coming from that shaitan hunak. That's coming from that shaitan hunak. That's coming from that. Like he knows that, oh, that's a demon there. So he knows already. And then you just stop that. You don't allow that thought to enter. Because like you said, 90% of your thoughts are from you anyway. They're from devilish places. 90% of what you think is not your own thoughts. So therefore, it becomes a different experience when we start to take ourselves to account for these things. Inshallah, okay, we'll stop that. So just to reiterate, inshallah, tomorrow the class will continue at 6 o'clock. So the class time now is 6 o'clock in the morning. Inshallah, it's now 6 o'clock in the morning, or like 6 till 6:30. Inshallah. If there's any questions, we can take. So I think there's a question here. If one has a life full of blessings rather than tribulations, like so many of creation, what does that mean for one's spiritual rank and place with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Excellent question. Does it mean a person is loved less, lower spiritual station? No, it doesn't at all, mashallah. But that's a brilliant question, actually. I mean, that shows that, it's looking at this topic of tribulation. What does it mean? Like, should we desire to be tried? No, we desire afiyah. We desire goodness. We desire peace and tranquility and to live a good life and an easy life. And that's why we ask Allah for afiyah, well-being, good health, balance. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So the point here is that you are content with whatever comes to you. You are content. If tribulation comes, you're happy. If goodness comes, you're happy. It doesn't shake you. And number one. Number two, when you are given goodness, when you're giving blessings, it's a much bigger tribulation. Really, it's a much bigger trial than when you are given difficulties. When you're given difficulties, naturally you turn to Allah. Naturally, the heart sinks, it breaks before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas when you're given blessings, it's a much bigger trial, actually. It's a much bigger trial. That's why the followers of the Anbiya, who are the followers of the Anbiya, of the prophets, well, Rasul and the messengers? It's the poor, it's the downtrodden. It's those people who are full of tribulations in their lives, full of tribulations. Those are the people who are natural recipients of this message, of this risala. So therefore, the idea of what is tribulation, and that's definitely there. And then secondly, of course, is how you respond. So it's shukr. You want to see the highest? What's the highest? Highest of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The dunya was not in his hand, nor was it in his heart. There's others, it's in their hand, mashallah, but it's not in their heart. That, to be honest, is very difficult. I think most of us, if we think that, we may be deluding ourselves. Allah Ta'ala alam, it's a difficult rank. Personally, the faqir, I'm nowhere near that rank. But I can say the dunya is out of my heart and it's in my hand. Yeah. For me, it's easy just to get rid of it. Because if it's in my hand, it's gonna affect me. Yeah. But what the highest rank is that it's not in your hand or in your hand. The Prophet ﷺ, that's what is shukr. Shukr means that you are grateful for what you have. Yeah. But what's the highest level of shukr? The highest level of shukr is that the blessings Allah has given you, yeah, Allah has given you want those blessings to be displayed on someone else, not yourself. Like he says, the trace, like one level of shukr is Allah's giving you blessings and you want to show those blessings, mashallah. You want to show gratitude from yourself. That's a mashallah, is a rank, amazing rank. What's the highest rank? What's that path of sanctification? The highest rank. That rank is that the blessings Allah has given you, you want them displayed, you want them shown, you want them to become manifest on someone else. In other words, you give them away and then you're thanking God because they, mashallah, they manifested on so and so and so and so and so and so. Yeah, so that's at the higher rank. But the essence of the matter, if you want to really say in essence, is of course we don't desire difficulty and tribulation. And the point is the rida, to be content, taslim, surrender, yeah, and to have sakina, tu'manina, and inner peace and tranquility with whatever, and whatever comes, whenever it comes, and however it comes, yeah, to have that sense, inshallah ta'ala. Is there any other questions? Okay, inshallah, we'll stop there, inshallah ta'ala. So just to reiterate, tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue at 6 a.m. inshallah. So the lesson will be at 6 a.m. inshallah. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.